Today, our group will do a case analysis of Seri Rasa urban dining business operations. We are Group F. I'm Yu Tong.
My name is Liu Manman.
My name is Huang Yikang.
My name is Xie Jinyi.
Seri Rasa Urban Dining, established in 2022 by the Rihama family, is a middle-sized restaurant in Kuala Lumpur. The restaurant blends local Malay and Western cuisine in a modern setting, serving middle to high-income groups, families, and corporate clients. However, the past year has brought Seri challenges, raising costs and cash flow pressures, which has squeezed margins. Based on the data of analysis, it shows the revenue grew, but the gross profits stayed almost flat. So the gross profit margin dropped. Worse, net profit turned into a loss, and the net margin became negative. Turning to the liquidity, cash descended sharply, and the current ratio fell into near 1.0. The business is increasingly relying on short-term debit and stretching supplies payments. Finally, efficiency. Inventory turnover worsened and receivable days doubled. Together, these show a clear decline in operation efficiency. These trends expose them to five major tasks: continual losing, hurting internal cash generation, potential payment defaults, uncontrolled costs despite raising revenue, spoilage from excess inventory, and higher leverage hurting the credit rating.
Okay, our main goal here is to use our ideal kitchen capability during off-peak hours to boost sales and fix our cash shortages. Management expects third-party platforms to increase our volume by 15% to 20%. While local market demand is strong, this strategy completely changes our cost structure. Next. As you can see on slide 8, we face a dangerous margin erosion trap. For dining, we make a healthy 20 ringgit profit per meal, which is a 44% margin. But for online delivery, platforms take a huge 30% commission, which is 13.5 ringgit. After adding 2 ringgit for packaging, our delivery profit per meal drops to just 4.5 ringgit, a tiny 10% margin. So even if sales go up, we still make very little cash to pay for our fixed rent and stuff. Next. To prove this, we ran a CVP analysis. The delivery channel must sell an extra 40,000 meals to independently cover Seri Russia's 180,000 ringgit net loss. Based on Dury's 2020 model, this requires a massive 50% volume jump. This completely ellipses management optimistic 20% limit. Therefore, Strategy 1 cannot solve our financial crisis alone. Next. The biggest advantage of Strategy 1 is that it requires zero upfront capital expenditure. We don't need to borrow 400,000 ringgit like the automation strategy. However, the hidden risks are high. Delivery platforms take 7 to 14 days to pay us, which will worsen our 12-day receivable days and trap our cash. Operationally, adding delivery orders during our current staff shortage will cause kitchen errors and delay dining services, damaging our upscale reputation. Next. To wrap up, Strategy 1 is just a short-term brand advertisement. It brings in quick sales without adding any debt. It's a long-term trap because of low margins. To fix this, we propose 3 practical solutions. First, menu engineering. Offer an exclusive high-margin delivery menu instead of our food dining menu. Secondly, premium pricing. Raise our prices by 10% to 15% on the apps to pass the commission costs to our consumers. Finally, time gating. Only open delivery during weekend off-peak hours to protect our premium weekend dining services.
Strategy 2 focus on RM 400,000 investment in kitchen automation. We expect this to reduce reliance on manual labor by 20% to 30% over time. However, it also introduced 70,000 to 90,000 in new annual maintenance and depreciation cost. Next, while we considering this, in 2025, our staff cost reached 972,000 and the business served a 180,000 net loss. Profitability is under massive pressure due to rising labor and operational costs, making efficiency improvement essential. Next, from a financial perspective, achieving a 20,000 to 30,000% labor reduction generates saving between 194,400 and 291,600, deducting the new annual equipment cost. The estimated net annual benefit range from 104,400 to 221,600. However, the payback period spans 1.8 to 3.8 years, meaning these financial benefits are medium to long term. Next, this net benefit could help offset our current net loss and push the business closer to profitability. However, as the analysis shows, only under the optimistic scenario does the business fully return to profit. It is a promising tool, but not an immediate magic bullet. Next, automation fundamentally shifts our code behavior. We are substitute to variable or adjustable staff code with rigid fixed equipment code. If sellers continue growing, this efficiency support higher profit margin. Conversely, if demand weakness, the business remain heavily burdened by fixed equipment expense. Next, our biggest immediate concern is liquidity. The ratio's cash balance has fallen to just 60,000 and our current ratio has declined to 1.00. Funding a 400,000 investment will require heavy external borrowing, instantly increasing our debt pressure and worsening short-term cash flow risk. Next, we must also navigate operational risk because Sarah Ratio is a upscale dining establishment. Automation should only handle repetitive or high-volume prep work, leaving the customer experience untouched. Starving training and potential service disruption during its tenants must be carefully managed. Next, ultimately, Strategy 2 is highly promising for long-term sustainability, but carries significantly higher short-term risk. Given our weak liquidity, we strongly recommend a phased implementation, starting with select tasks rather than a full immediate investment. Next.
Okay, now I will synthesize our financial findings and present our team's final recommendation to Mr. Fire and the management team. To recap our initial financial analysis, Sri Raza is facing a critical turning point. Despite the growing revenue, we are looking at a net loss of 180,000 ringgits. Crucially, our liquidity and the current ratio have dropped to exactly 1.0, meaning we have virtually no cash buffer to sustain daily operations. This financial position presents a stark trade-off between immediate cash flow, survival, and the long-term cost efficiency. Regarding strategy 1, the online delivery expansion, it requires zero upfront capital. However, as detailed in the previous session, the 30% platform commission creates a fatal margin erosion trap. With the unit contribution margin dropping to 10%, it cannot bridge our profit gap on its own without a 50% volume surge. On the other hand, strategy 2, which is the kitchen automation, directly addresses our rising labor cost. Yet, committing to a 400,000 ringgit capital expenditure when we only have 60,000 ringgits in cash is a massive liquidity risk. Implementing full automation right now could push the business straight into technological insolvency. Next. Therefore, we do not recommend a binary choice. To safely navigate this crisis, we propose a phased, risk-mitigated approach.
For phase 1, which is the immediate survival, we suggest launching the delivery channel, but with strict operational controls. By implementing a 10% to 15% premium pricing markup, we can offset the commission and generate cash flow while operating safely within management's 16,000 meal growing ceiling. Crucially, we must apply operational time gating by restricting delivery orders strictly to weekday off-peak hours. This protects the high-margin dine-in business from weekend kitchen chaos. For phase 2, which is the long-term efficiency, we treat automation as our future goal, which is the long-term goal. Facing an 85% funding gap today, we recommend delaying this 400,000 ringgit investment until our cash flow stabilize or external funding is secured. Once ready, we should start strictly with the pilot program for highly repetitive tasks to effectively target our 972,000 ringgit labor cost center. In conclusion, Siri Raza's ultimate competitive advantage is this premium dining experience. By using a strictly controlled delivery model to cushion short-term cash flow, we buy the necessary time to implement automation safely. This approach ensures financial recovery without sacrificing our high-end brand acuity. Thank you. Next. And this is our references and the AI declaration, which shows the responsible use of generative AI within the guidelines. Thank you.